This is the first time I choose to make a behind the scenes video about one of my short films, and the reason wasn't just because I actually remembered to shoot footage of behind the scenes, but because of the interesting circumstance in which it was made. Before COVID-19 hit, I was already feeling particularly isolated. The film industry seemed so distant and I was clueless on what steps to take next. Then actual isolation was enforced and I realized I was way off. But then it dawned on me, all the reasons why I couldn't make a film before were now the reasons I could. For only a 3-page script, there was a fair amount of work to be done. Starting with the set, we wanted to create a believable artist studio for the main character. To cover our white and empty walls, we thought it would be cool to map them with sketches. That meant drawing every single sketch that was going to go on the walls. And there were a lot of drawings. Once they were done, Sarah, my girlfriend and personal Batman, planned and built the entire set, whilst I did nothing and filmed her, making her the hero I don't deserve but desperately need. However, the most terrifying prop to make was the actual painting. Without it, there was no movie. This reminds me of a Bob Ross quote. Talent is a pursued interest. Anything that you're willing to practice, you can do. Another Bob Ross quote I like is, just beat the devil out of it.
I will shake it off and then just beat the devil out of it.
The painting is first seen in the film through the painter's eyes. This was made by first removing the pupil, as it had a distracting catchlight from the window behind. Then after motion tracking the shot, I linked the painting to his eyes and modified the blending mode, making it blend with the highlights of the eye. When it came to costumes, the one for the painter came naturally. Sarah dirtied up an apron, and I chose to wear brown pants that were never seen, so I could have made the whole film in my undies. However, the woman was more complex than we thought. We needed to find a perfect balance between gentle and menacing. And to avoid stretching our already non-existent budget, and without resorting to over-the-top cosplay costumes, we ended up deciding on purchasing 4 separate items to create the final costume: a petticoat, dress, blouse, and headscarf. Together they created an inaccurate depiction of Renaissance that we like to call a timeless yet classical look. A few weeks before filming, I had shot a previs in our PJs, and it really helped grasp whether the story would actually make sense visually, and ultimately it served as a more accurate representation of my storyboard. But the actual benefit was how it took off a lot of stress from some heavy decision making on the day, such as lighting decisions. I initially had a vision of shaping light like Blade Runner with DIY Venetian blinds and I don't know, but without the right equipment it just looked like So I opted for the gaffer in the sky and taped the ceiling lamps to add some diffusion. When it came to VFX, I remember Sarah and I really wanted to try and make the portrait feel as if it was alive. So we had this vision of the paint slithering with a purpose and direction. We thought the best way to do it was to have Sarah slowly place the paint and then mask it afterwards, but once I started to work on the footage, I realized that wasn't really working. So I ended up using the final frames of the footage, drawing a shape with tapered ends to act as a mask, giving it a sharp and purposeful look. I then animated the ins and outs, and now we got our slither. We then did the same for the scenes with the leg and the neck. Also, I'm in that awkward position because we were hoping gravity was gonna help. It didn't. For the paint seeping through the cloth, we had planned to cut a hole through an empty canvas and use a comically large syringe to push the paint out, but the results were, to say the least, disappointing. I decided to do what I hate, which is fix it in post. As for the woman in the canvas, we shot footage on a black background in slow motion, and then I plopped the footage and that was it. And then Sarah was like, "Is that it?" And I was like, "Oh wait, I forgot to mask the border and place her in the canvas," and then I added paint textures and turbulent displays to make it feel as the painting was alive, and that was it. One of the funnest things of not working in a professional environment and the lack of equipment was the freedom to experiment. To recreate a smooth pan movement, we used one of our stools, propped a masking tape under the camera, and voila. It meant faking some movements, but as long as it looked great on camera, boom, that's the take. For the woman's arm going through the canvas, I had no concrete plans on how to achieve it. But on the day we thought of shooting a shot of just the arm and one of just the canvas, and later masking her arm into the scene. I opted for that over green screen since all the lighting had already been done. Now for recreating the sunken place, the void, inside the painting, it took little planning and was actually the most hilarious to film. Sarah unleashed the winds from Pandora's box whilst I fell to my doom, arching my quarantine soft back into more mush. In After Effects I then masked the stool out and crushed those blacks to give the illusion of a void. Another ludicrous scene was me sinking through the bed. We reserved this for last as we had an idea on how to achieve it, but it was never truly solid. The solution ended up being quite literally kids play. We made a bed for it. Sarah had the idea of cutting a bed sheet in the middle and had me fake drop into darkness. And that's how we made this film. I hope sharing my experience of making this film inspired you to make yours, no matter what kind of tools or limits you have. Now I'll just leave you with some speed painting and calm lo-fi study beats.
The most fun part of this whole painting technique is washing the brush. So let's wash the brush. And just beat the devil out of it. And as you know, we wash our brushes with odorless thinner, and we have a lot of fun. Just shake off the excess and beat the devil out of it. All right. We do that with odorless paint thinner. And I have a screen in the bottom of this can so we can scrub the bristles against the screen and the solid material sort of settle to the bottom, keeping the paint relatively clean. And we'll shake it off and then just beat the devil out of it.